It's finally happened. The Flipper Zero has been banned. I'm looking at you, Canada. Also in your Hacking News Roundup, the feds have identified hackers targeting water facilities, and Wikileaks' Vault 7 source has finally been sentenced. But first, Canada is banning the Flipper Zero in an attempt to stop people stealing cars.
First things first, we need to stop these criminals who are part of gangs and organized crime. Of course, one of the best things we can do to prevent auto theft is prevent those thefts from happening in the first place. The fact is, it's become too easy for criminals to get sophisticated electronic devices that make it simple, for example, to copy car key fobs.
Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, is talking about the Flipper Zero, which is actually mentioned by name on the Canadian government website as the device that is specifically being targeted by new laws that will completely ban the import and sale of them. But is this humble hobbyist device, adorned with a cheerful dolphin, really a car-cracking criminal's best friend? No. Forget best friend, Flipper Zeros are nowhere to be seen in a car thief's toolkit. Look at it like this. In 2022, 100,000 cars were stolen across the whole of Canada. Of that, how many were confirmed to have been stolen using a Flipper Zero? Well, clues in the name? 0. So why the ban? The problem is low information politicians spending too much time on social media and watching videos like this, which seem to actually show someone hacking into a car using a Flipper Zero. In the first half of the video, the guy talks about megahertz and rolling codes, but that's confusing, so being a low information politician, we'll just skip to the end, where the Flipper Zero is used to unlock a car from a couple hundred meters away. Wow, that looks pretty dangerous. How can this thing be legal? Where's my banhammer? But what's really going on here? The guy in the video has used the flipper to clone the code from his key fob and is just replaying it in order to unlock his car. However, the reality is that almost every car made since the 90s uses something called rolling codes, as in every time the key fob is used, it generates a brand new code to unlock the car, which as soon as it's used, expires, so the code just won't work again. So in order to successfully pull off the hack shown in the video, you have to be out of range of the car when you record the code, to ensure that the car doesn't receive the code, which would immediately invalidate it. And even then, you can only use that recorded code once. In an IRL scenario, after you've parked your car and walked away, you obviously aren't going to be even touching your key fob. So whilst this hack makes for an interesting video, it's completely useless for criminals. The reaction to Canada's ban has been one of confusion, with the Flipper Zero team themselves just in total shock. However, the problem of car thefts using technological methods is a real problem, but it has absolutely nothing to do with Flipper Zeros. A guy comes up to your door in the dead of night and holds what looks to be some kind of wire loop up to your house. Seconds later, your car unlocks and the bad guys drive away. This is an example of a relay attack. It specifically affects newer cars that use keyless entry systems. Bad guys use specialized equipment, easily purchased online, in order to boost the signal from the fob in your house so it'll unlock your car. This kind of car theft is a massive problem, but it can't just be legislated away with a banhammer. Canada isn't alone in banning flippers. Last year, Brazil started seizing shipments of Flipper Zeros, and Amazon has actually banned the sale of them for being a, quote, card skimming device. The US has just slapped sanctions on 6 Iranian government hackers thought to be members of the Cybervengers. The Cybervengers is a pro-Palestinian hacker group which has been very active throughout the Israel-Hamas war. They've become famous for messing with water facilities in Western countries. In particular, they've been targeting facilities that use Unitronics PLCs. A PLC, or Programmable Logic Controller, is a piece of tech that's used to control pumps and valves, monitor chemical concentrations in water. They're essentially the thing that's used to interface with industrial machinery. And Unitronics is a certain brand of PLC that's made in Israel, hence why Cybervengers is targeting them. These guys consider anything made in Israel to be fair game. In one instance, the group targeted a water facility in Pennsylvania, hacking a PLC used to regulate water pressure and repurposing its display to advertise their group. This hack actually resulted in the facility having to switch to manual operations. However, apart from being very inconvenient for the workers that day, the actual water supply wasn't disrupted. But the same can't be said for a small community in Ireland. After the Cyber Avengers successfully hacked a local water facility, 160 households had their water supply cut off for 2 whole days. After each operation, Cyber Avengers of course brags about it on their Telegram channel, posting screenshots of the systems they've hacked, as well as leaking any data they managed to steal. These hacks seem pretty sophisticated in a world where a typical hacktivist operation means just a basic boring DDoS attack. However, these campaigns actually weren't sophisticated in the slightest, and are thought to have just been made possible simply by a really bad default admin password on these Unitronics devices, 1111. At first, the Cyber Avengers was thought to just be yet another hacktivist group, but US authorities claim that this group is actually run by Iran, and has announced that they've identified 6 military hackers behind it and added them to OFAC's specially designated nationals list. Now, of all the lists the government keeps, this is one you most definitely do not want to be on. It basically prevents any US person or business from ever interacting with you financially in any way. Anyone who so much as sells you a cheeseburger could potentially be liable to some pretty extreme penalties. It's essentially the closest thing that the US government has to an IRL block list. An ex-CIA employee accused of leaking data to Wikileaks has just been sentenced to 40 years in prison. There's a bit of a story behind this one. Back in 2016, Joshua Schultz was working in the CCI, or the Center for Cyber Intelligence, a unit within the CIA that deals in offensive cyber operations against America's adversaries. Joshua did not get on with his colleagues, and after a bit of a falling out, he was transferred to a different branch within the CCI, and his admin privileges were revoked. However, he secretly restored those admin privileges and used them to steal a copy of the entire CCI tool development archives, the contents of which were vast. We're talking the CIA's entire hoard of zero-day exploits, custom malware suites. This dump has been described as the entire hacking capacity of the CIA. However, whilst the CIA found out about the unauthorized admin privileges and gave him a slap on the wrist, no one knew he'd stolen the CIA's crown jewels, and so nothing else was done. In the coming months, Joshua sent those stolen files to Wikileaks, and in 2017 they published them under the name Vault 7, in what became the largest leak of classified information in CIA history. Despite Joshua's good OPSEC of using Tails and Tor to manage and transfer the stolen files, it didn't really matter, because when the CIA launched an internal investigation into the leaks, the guy who was known to have gained unauthorized admin privileges automatically became the prime suspect. The feds interviewed him and caught him in a whole web of lies. After searching his apartment, not only did they find some of those files, but also thousands of images of CSAM, cheese pizza, whatever you want to call it. Now, there's been a lot of controversy about that CP. I mean, it is pretty convenient for the feds to find that kind of thing on his computer after he's been accused of all those other crimes. However, in response to the CP charge, he didn't really deny it and claims he was just hosting files on behalf of other people, and said besides it's just a, quote, non-violent victimless crime. So yeah, he does not come across like a guy who's just had CP planted on his computer by the CIA. And I haven't seen any evidence to suggest that he's some kind of Edward Snowden-like figure, leaking the CIA's hacking secrets for what he believes to be the greater good. The guy just seems like someone who wants to watch the world burn, but if you disagree, feel free to let me know in the comments. His initial trial took place in 2020, however it was eventually declared a mistrial after the jury just couldn't come to a decision. In his retrial, he chose to represent himself, which turned out to be a really bad idea because he was eventually convicted on 9 counts, and now, 7 years after Vault 7, the 35-year-old has just been sentenced to 40 years in prison. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.